chess game was utterly stunning. I paired Stockfish 16 as white with Gull 3 as black, and the results were astonishing. I'm going to breeze through the book moves so we can immerse ourselves into the game sooner. The opening was the Queen's Gambit declined, Heroitz's attack, 2 knights defense, blockade line which looks like this. D4, knight F6, C4, E6, knight F3, D5, knight C3, bishop E7, bishop F4, kingside castling, E3, knight B to D7, and the last book move, the provocative C5. Gull plays knight H5, threatening the bishop on F4, and if they trade the bishop for the knight, white's pawn structure will be damaged as the wing which extended from F2 to C5 will be shattered and leaves white with 2 F-pawns, and that usually doesn't do any favors. Nonetheless, Stockfish disregards Gull's inferior threat and plays bishop D3, having a strong scope on black's kingside as the bishop points to the H7 pawn next to the king. Gull plays B6, attacking the C5 pawn which is hoarding space from black, trying to neutralize the opposition, but Stockfish readily defends by playing B4, adding a second line of defense to the C5 pawn. Gull continues to hammer at Stockfish's frontier by playing A5, attacking the B4 pawn, but Stockfish effortlessly defends yet again with a subtle A3. Gull now capitalizes on his plan to damage Stockfish's pawn structure by playing knight takes F4, the first piece to be taken. Stockfish takes back with the standard pawn takes F4, doubling his F-pawns and leaving the E-file relatively exposed, leaving white's king susceptible to danger. Gull plays C6, preventing white from taking any more space from black and giving space for the queen to develop via C7. White solves his potential dangers to the king by castling, and Gull plays G6. Stockfish plays queen E2, having control of the E-file at this point, and Gull plays bishop F6, placing the bishop at a more active square. Stockfish plays knight to A4, going to the left wing of the board, looking to infiltrate black's position. Gull responds with queen to C7, attacking the hanging F4 pawn, and Stockfish swiftly plays G3, defending the pawn. Gull plays B5, revoking the attack on the C5 pawn and transferring it to the knight on A4, which needs to find a way to escape. Stockfish plays knight back to C3, and the whole purpose of playing knight to A4 was to bait Gull into secreting the left wing of the board with interlocking pawns, which results in the left side of black's pieces to be slightly immobilized and have little space to tread in, therefore limiting speed and efficiency of dealing with the position, thus resulting white having the slighter edge in this position. Gull plays bishop to B7, shuffling the minor piece to have a strong diagonal on the white king, if it weren't for his own pieces hindering the bishop's connection to the king. Stockfish plays H4, starting an attack on the king's side, capitalizing that black can't defend as well, and strikes while the iron is hot. Gull continues with his minute shuffling by playing rook to A7, trying to double the rooks in hopes of creating a battering ram to open the left wing up for flexibility. Stockfish, with no sign of cowardice, plays pawn H5, continuing the pawn venture to the other side, knocking on the door of black's fortress. Gull slides his F-rook to A8, creating the riposte that will soon joust its way into Stockfish's position. Stockfish calmly plays rook A to C1 with the reason of, when black plays it takes B4, and after Stockfish takes back with his A-pawn, his rook doesn't hang as black's double attack with the rooks overrules white's singular defense, and Gull would be winning after the trades. As predicted, Gull takes the B-pawn and Stockfish recaptures without any consequences other than the fact that Gull has a strong rook gun hollering down the A-file as black starts his attack with rook A3. Stockfish doesn't care about the invasion and nonchalantly plays king G2, relinquishing any ideas of pins to the king. Gull takes the H-pawn, but in return gets greeted with a hasty rook H1 with malicious intent of a kingside attack. Gull retreats his bishop to G7, giving space for the knight on D7 to stand there, and Stockfish seizes the hanging pawn at last by playing rook takes H5. Gull plays knight to F6, threatening the rook, and Stockfish simply retreats the rook to H4. Gull plays H6, giving less space for the rooks to control on the H-file. Stockfish plays the dominant move, knight to E5, securing a strong position, conquering many crucial squares, and Gull plays took to B3, trying to get their A-rook to the game. Stockfish increases the ante by playing G4, stirring up the attack on the king again, and Gull retreats their knight to D7 again, which doesn't do black any favors. But now you are about to witness such brutality by Stockfish. In this position, Stockfish 16 plays the brilliant move, rook C to H1, sacrificing the knight on C3. Gull readily takes the sacrifice, but it has its consequences. but it is the best move in the position. Stockfish emanates the attack with g5, putting more pressure on the h6 square. Gull plays knight takes knight on e5, trying to separate the d or f pawn. Both are crucial, but it's futile as Stockfish is winning. Stockfish takes with his f pawn, and Gull gets out of the firing line by playing king f8. Stockfish's pawn ravages Gull's kingside by taking h6, threatening the bishop, which has only one safe square to go, and that is bishop to h8. Stockfish plays queen to d2, threatening the hanging rook, and Gull retreats it to a3. Stockfish plays rook 1 to h3, trying to move the rook to the g file and control more files next to the king. Gull, afraid of what's going to happen, retreats their king to e8, and Stockfish capitalizes on Gull's fear and controls the f file. Gull plays queen e7, attacking the hanging rook on h4, which is defended by Stockfish's queen, to f4. Gull plays rook to c8, making tomb for the rook on a3 to retreat, as black's attack has gone stale. Stockfish plays h7, vamping up the pressure with a pawn one step away from promotion, and a scared Gull retreats his rook by playing rook to a8, supporting the back rank where the new monarch will lie. Stockfish supports their potential promotion as queen h6 commences on the board, defending it and controlling more of black's weaknesses. Gull, with no hope, retreats their king further to d7, and Stockfish creates more pressure with rook h to f4, threatening to take the f7 pawn, which pins the queen to the king, and it'll be a loss for black. Gull defends with rook f8, but now you are about to witness such savagery from Stockfish. In this position, Stockfish 16 plays the brilliant move, bishop g6, sacrificing the bishop. If Gull takes, it's fatal after a slugfest of trades on f8, and results in a mate in 6 for white. White's bishop is trapped if it were only for one move, bishop g7, but it's futile, because after rook f7 check, the bishop and king are skewered and it gets taken regardless, and with a new monarch on the next move, Gull has nothing else to do but delay the game for 4 more moves until the inevitability of checkmate falls on the black king after queen takes b7 checkmate. So going back to the bishop sacrifice, we now know why Gull can't take the bishop. In the real game, Gull played f5, declining the sacrifice and pushing the pawn to a spot where it is now protected by another pawn on e6. But that doesn't matter as Stockfish plays e takes f6, Arn Puss aren't leaving the queen under attack. Gull retreats their queen to d8, and Stockfish plays rook g4, no 4, having all of the f, g, and h files controlled. Now, there are many moves at Gull's disposal in this position, all but one lead to a quicker misery. If Gull takes the pawn on f6 with the bishop on h8, doomsday impends on Gull, because you are about to witness such massacre by white. In this position, Stockfish 16 plays the brilliant move, bishop e8 check, sacrificing the bishop 3 ways: the king, the queen, and the rook. If Gull takes the bishop with the king, it results in more devastation by Stockfish, because in this position, Stockfish 16 plays the brilliant move, queen f8 check, sacrificing a whole queen. If the king takes the queen, it is a mate in 4 as follows as Stockfish queens. Gull's king retreats to e7, queen h7 check, bishop g7, blocking the check, thus stalling for time. Rook takes bishop, king e8, and rook g8 checkmate, where Gull's king gets hung, drawn, and quartered. So going back to the queen's sacrifice, Gull could have declined it with king d7, but it still results in a checkmate as follows as Stockfish plays queen d6 check, and Gull's king goes to c8, sheltering behind the queen. Stockfish follows up with rook to g8, pinning the queen to the king, and Gull plays rook a1, stalling for time with checks. Stockfish advances on the checkmate with rook takes f6, Gull plays rook g1 check, getting 1 move delay for checkmate. King takes bishop a6, rook takes queen, king b7, and rook f7 checkmate. To Stockfish, Gull is merely the starter of the 5-course meal, and easily vanquished. So going back to the bishop sacrifice, we now know that Gull cannot take the bishop with the king without it being fatal. But what about the rook? Well, if rook takes e8, Stockfish will take the bishop on f7, as the rook that defended the bishop with 2 defenders has now turned into 1, as the rook no longer defends the bishop, and it's a forced mate, as follows. Gull plays rook a2, attacking the king for stalling purposes, and now you are about to witness slaughterous play by Stockfish. In this position, Stockfish 16 plays the brilliant move, rook takes e6, sacrificing the rook, and it all pans out in the end for Stockfish. Gull stalls and plays rook takes f2 check, and after king takes, rook f8 check, delaying the inevitable. White evades their king from the danger and black burrows into their shelter, but it's futile after queen g7 check, and after king to b8, you are about to witness such brutality by Stockfish. In this position, Stockfish 16 plays the brilliant move, queen takes f8, sacrificing a whole queen. Gull takes the queen, and Stockfish plays rook g8, pinning Gull's queen to their king, and with a new queen on the way, it's the end of the king for Gull, and after a bit of shuffling, the game comes to a termination. So going back to the bishop sacrifice, we now know that Gull can't take the bishop with either rook or the king. But what about the queen? Well, after queen takes e8, the rooks are traded, as the queen that defended the bishop with two defenders has now turned into one, as the queen after taking and no longer defends the bishop, and it's a forced mate as follows. Gull plays rook to d8, and now you are about to witness such savage play by Stockfish. In this position, Stockfish 16 played the brilliant move, queen takes d8 check, sacrificing a whole queen. Either way Gull takes it, it still yields the same result after rook g7 check. The king is forced onto the back rank, where it is pinned to by the queen. After took g8, the queen gets taken, and a new queen arises, and it's a slow and brutish finish by Stockfish, who comes out on top with the crown. So going back to the bishop sacrifice, we now know the thought process behind the engine's moves. These engines calculate 2.2 million moves per second on average according to Stockfish, and this is what they can comprehend in a matter of seconds, and this is the sheer superiority of destruction and massacre these engines can cause. In the real game, the bishop sacrifice didn't happen, but was the idea in Stockfish's brain. Gull played rook a1, trying to initiate another stale attack, stalling for time and giving the king more breathing space in case it gets attacked further. Stockfish plays bishop h5, giving the g4 rook a discovered control of the g file to g8. Gull, with nothing better to play, plays rook at 2. But now you are about to witness sheer destruction by Stockfish. In this position, Stockfish 16 played the brilliant move, rook g7 check, sacrificing the rook to the bishop on h8. If the bishop takes, the pawn recaptures, and there are two pawns ready to promote on the 7th rank, and it's too much for black to handle. Gull stalls for time and plays rook takes f2 check, trying to delay doomsday for black. White recaptures and black plays queen h4 check. White evades and the rook on f3 is taken, and Stockfish plays the great move, bishop e8 check, sacrificing the bishop for a discovered check on the h4 queen. The queen is taken, and all of black's moves are futile, like rook d3. But now you are about to witness such torture to Gull. In this position, Stockfish 16 played the brilliant move, bishop d7 check, sacrificing the bishop. When the king takes, it's a brutal finish to the kin with just a bit of shuffling and simple chess to secure a win for Stockfish. So back to the rook sacrifice. We now know that Gull can't take the rook. Instead, Gull plays king c8. And yet again, you are about to witness such mocking play by Stockfish. In this position, Stockfish 16 played the brilliant move, bishop f7, sacrificing the rook again. If black takes the rook, it yields the same loss, and Gull declines it yet again by playing rook e8, which is soon captured by the bishop, with nothing left to do. Gull plays bishop a8, and now you are about to witness more brutality by Stockfish in this position. Stockfish 16 played the brilliant move, bishop h5, sacrificing the rook again for the 3rd time, which leads to the same loss, and Gull plays rook d2 with no hopes of winning. But now you are about to witness the last but not least of brilliant moves of Stockfish. In this position, Stockfish 16 played the final brilliant move, f7, sacrificing the rook for the 4th time. The queen blocks the pawn from queening, and Stockfish moves their rook to g8, and the queen is now pinned to the king, and it's a mate in 5. After bishop g7, queen takes g7, king b7, queen takes queen, rook f2 check, rook takes e5, queen c8, king a7 and queen a8, checkmate. What a game this was, with so many variations and tons of sacrifices, with the real game consisting of 6 brilliant moves, and with the variations having a whopping total of 12 brilliant moves. I hope you enjoyed the video, and the game's PGN is in the description or in the comments. Thank you for watching. Chesscadia out.